What's going on, guys? It's O from Out Confidence. Today we're talking about smoking weed, how I stopped it, not completely because I have a new philosophy, but I want to share with you this philosophy, my story, how I was able to cut down tremendously, because I used to be a pothead. I used to smoke every single day for a few years. So I got to uni, this was when I was 18 years old. Lots were going on in my life, big transition, new city, alone, dealing with past issues, past traumas, having trouble talking to girls, all these things, just a bunch of stuff together. And so I wanted to escape, being here, presently, soberly. And so I got introduced, I actually got introduced to weed when I was 16 years old. I've only done it once or twice, but I really, took it to another level when I moved to university, and I got hooked, right? So me and my friend, a good friend of mine that I still talk to, we used to smoke every single day, and I'm not talking about just like a few puffs. I'm talking like a few J's a day, like bong hits, every single bong and bowl that you can, that you can picture, like just different ways to smoke, blunts all the time, hot boxing. It was just, we were never sober. That was the thing. That's what we did. We missed class. We didn't go out and try to get to know girls or get to know people. We were just chilling and smoking. That's all we did, and we munched. And obviously, you guys saw me on my fitness channel where I was 180 something pounds, just heavy. That was because I was munching every day, big bag of chips, big bucket of ice cream, everything, you name it. So here's oh man, that phase of my life was crazy. Okay, so I tried to quit weed so many times. I've tried to quit weed maybe 100 times, 200 times, and I failed to do this because I knew that I had to, but it was just so hard. It's something that that was my control strategy for dealing with life. That was the thing that got me to not think about what's going on around me and try to better everything that I was unhappy about. And this was all subconscious. I didn't know that I was unhappy. I didn't know that I was depressed. I didn't know that I had issues to deal with. It was subconsciously. I wasn't conscious of my issues. And so I just kept smoking and smoking and smoking. And there were good times, right? There were good times. I'm not gonna lie. There were lots of sessions where I enjoyed, but it got out of hand. I was not getting good grades. I was not getting to know people. I was just simply being a zombie, and it annoyed me. I'd sit down, play Call of Duty all day, smoke Call of Duty. That's all I did. I didn't do anything else but gym. That was that's the only thing that when I left the house was to go to the gym. Other than that, I wasn't even going out, and whenever I did go out, it's we need to smoke up before, and then you smoke up, and then you go to a club, and you're just kind of chilling, not doing anything, not talking to anyone, just being awkward in the corner. So just the amount of times I tried to quit, I can't explain to you how many times. I think 200 times is an understatement, because I remember I'd smoke a shit ton, and then the next day I'd be okay, not smoking today, and then I'd end up smoking at night. Or maybe I won't smoke that day, but then the next day I'm that's it, and I'm back on it for a few weeks, and it's I'm quitting today. Doesn't happen. A few days, I'm quitting today. Doesn't happen. And it was causing me to really go downhill, not just in life, developing and progressing in life, but my health. I was gaining a lot of weight. I was not here, man. I was not here, right? I didn't know what was going on around me. That was my experience with smoking weed, right? And I'm gonna share with you how I stopped it. But before I do that, guys, there's people who I think this is very medicinal by doing it every day. I know people that do this every day, and it actually gets them to do more work. It gets them to be more creative. It gets them to be more fun around. It gets them to feel better about their anxiety and depression. But I happen to not be one of those people. That only happens to me when I smoke every now and then. So now what I have done, and before I tell you how I quit it, now what I do is that I do it on occasions, And every time I do it, I have a good time. It actually boosts me. I feel more social. I get those positive effects that people get when they smoke every day. But if I let myself go for 2-3 days smoking, 2-3 days back to back, eventually my brain's like, nope, I'm gonna take you from here to your baseline to lower your baseline, to even lower than your baseline. And so that's my experience. Now, how did I stop? I got fed up. I got fed up of life. Like I was at a point where I was just truly unhappy, and I knew that smoking weed was one thing that was, a big reason of why my life is like that. Because it wasn't letting me become a stronger version of myself. Now again, I was convincing myself that, there's lots of research out there about weed and how it's amazing and, yada yada yada. And yes, for some people, like, it's truly medicinal. Like, it is truly medicinal. By doing it every day, I'm talking, right? But it doesn't happen to me. I'm just, maybe my biology just can't handle a drug like that. It just makes me weaker. So for me, I had to get to a point where I'm like, okay, you know what? There is studies, there is research, but that doesn't apply to me. So I need to do something about it. So guys, I went cold turkey. I literally just stopped smoking altogether. And this took a few bad highs where it got to a point where I would smoke and I'd start having like a panic attack. I would start panicking and I would start feeling restless, right? Because I had a lot of, obviously you're gonna have a lot of anxiety if weed is making you repress all these emotions and problems and making these problems hide in your subconscious and not, like, eventually you're gonna blow up. These things are gonna wanna come out. And so I started to have really bad highs, and I'm like, I remember once so we made edibles, and those edibles were strong. Like, they weren't just weed, they were concentrated butter, and each brownie had like 2 grams of butter, which is like, no one does that. I ate it, I ended up in the ER having a panic attack. Not my greatest story, but it really it just kept taking me downhill. And for me, these few bad highs really made me just say, you know what? I'm done with this. Now, what I like to do is every now and then, and I don't plan them, I don't plan these highs, they just kind of happen, right? If I'm feeling myself and I'm like, you know what? I've been sober for a very long time and I feel like just getting high, I would do it. And it's crazy because every time I get high now, and I don't do it maybe once, I can't tell you how frequent, because sometimes I will go like months without it. Sometimes I will go weeks without it. Sometimes I'll go days without it. It really just depends on how I'm feeling. So I just listen to me. I don't listen to anyone else. It's like, do I want to get high? Sure. And I would do it. And every time I do, I have like a blast. Like, I get so many revelations and so much insight about my life that I no longer get bad highs. I get great highs. But I know that if I overdo it, then now I'm like falling back into this whole cycle. I had to quit, cold turkey until for me to realize that, okay, I need to moderate this because clearly it isn't working for me. So what I invite you to do, or I advise you to do, is ask yourself, has it been bettering your quality of life? If not, then you know what you need to do. I can't tell you, motivate you to quit. I can only share my experience and my story. So if you can relate to this, then you know that it's something that you gotta stop completely, maybe, until you get to a point where you're like, okay, now I can handle moderating it. Now, I don't want to say mature enough, but I want to say advanced enough to be able to say no whenever I need to say no. So I hope this experience story has been helpful, brought some insight, helped you clear some things out, because I know I used to be always in denial that weed was the greatest thing on the planet, and I think it's medicinal. I think it really does benefit lots of people, and we are seeing that. But for some, it does the opposite. And so, if you're one of those people, then you know what you need to do. Give the video a thumbs up, share this video with a friend that's trying to stop or trying to understand more about getting high. Let me know your experience with smoking marijuana. And like always, all from Mount Confidence, out.